Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I'm so happy to be here with you today. I hope that these tips that I've been sharing with you have been something that you've been able to put into practice and have been helpful for you in whatever caregiving situation you may be in. And for those of you who might be viewing for the first time, please take the time to go back in the archives of my channel and look at the tips that I've shared over the past few weeks in regard to laughter and how it does improve the lives of our seniors who have challenges with Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia, and how it just improves the lives of human beings in general. What I did through this book was I used an acronym using the word laugh. And for each letter in that word, I've given a tip. We started off with listening, then we went on to analyzing, then we moved on to understanding, and last time we were on guiding, and today we're going to be talking about honor. And I'm so excited to be wrapping up our session with this specific tip because I believe that it's probably one of the more important tips out of all that I've shared with you. Honoring is preserving the dignity of the individuals who you provide care for, and also providing them with the utmost respect in how we address them, how we talk to them, how we talk about them in front of them and in front of others. All of those things are vitally important to your success as you provide care for those individuals who might be having challenges with Alzheimer's and dementia. This book is specifically geared towards behavioral issues. So the more you take time to respect and preserve the dignity of those you're providing care for, the less behaviors you're going to see. Because a lot of people and a lot of our senior population, they can tell by your tone of voice, they can tell by your touch, they can tell by your attitude whether or not you are honoring them, whether or not you're respecting them, whether or not you care to be there with them at the moment. They respond to those types of things. So it's good to be mindful of that as you're providing care. I know that in the time that I've had opportunity to provide care for hundreds of individuals, specifically with Alzheimer's and dementia, there's power in the name and how you address someone. Many of the individuals who I've helped have been doctors, lawyers. They have spent time in the military, and so they could be captains or colonels. And those titles in front of their names are important. It's important to use those when you're addressing that individual, if that's how they want to be addressed. Because you're honoring their position, you're honoring them as a person. And so I had an experience with a wonderful gentleman in one of the senior care communities that I worked for a while back. And we had decided to do something special for the men and women who were in the military and armed forces at our local National Guard. We decided we wanted to take them cookies, and we had written many thank you notes just to thank them for their service to our country and to just let them know that we were praying for them and their families. So one of the individuals in particular who went with us, he was actually a World War II veteran, and he was a colonel, or a captain, in the United States Marine Corps. And so he accompanied us on this outing, and he was a little further advanced in in dementia. And so his speech was not as intact, and he had a little bit of a delayed response when you would try to communicate with him. Most of the time his countenance was kind of down, but he was generally, overall pleasant, but most of the time he was kind of quiet and kept to himself. Well, on this opportunity, we took him along with several other individuals who may have been involved in the military, or their spouse. They may have been a spouse of a veteran. They accompanied us on this trip. So we drove down to the National Guard, and once we got to the gate, we explained our reasoning for being there. We hadn't called in advance and didn't know that we needed to in order to get clearance to come through the gates. Well, once we expressed to them what we were there for, and once we let them know that we had a United States Marine captain on board, we got the green light to come in. And we didn't know at the time that there was an actual ceremony going on for one of the individuals. They were being promoted to sergeant, and we didn't know at the time that this was taking place. So it was really, I believe, a divine appointment. We knew that. I later discovered that I believe God wanted us there on this specific occasion. So once we got there, and once word got out of this awesome, precious cargo that we had military men who came out to the bus that we were on and escorted each individual who was on the bus into the building to join in for this ceremony. And once we got there, with our cookies in hand and thank you cards, there were about 50 to 100 men and women who are active duty in the services. They were there, and we got to participate in this ceremony and watch the promotion of one of the women who was there at that time. And this whole time I was watching my resident, who was the World War II veteran, the Marine captain, watching his countenance. His whole countenance had brightened up, because from the moment that they escorted him from that bus into the building, he was being saluted. He was being honored, because they got word that this was a captain, and he, as he was being saluted, he would salute back, and he would smile, and you could just tell that he was sort of in his element. And so I just watched him that whole time we were there, watched his countenance change. And then I had opportunity to kind of sit next to him, ask him how he was doing. And as he was talking to me, even his speech, he was able to kind of speak with a little more clarity. His speech was a little more fluid, because he was in his element, because he was being honored again, because that position that he has had in that role as the Marine Corps captain, was coming alive again in him. And so it was such a beautiful time. And at the end of our time together, we had opportunity to pray with those military men and women who were there. We had not only got to see this beautiful promotion ceremony, but it ended, with a special prayer from our elders over all of them and their families. And I remember one of the gentlemen who was in charge, he came up to us afterwards and said that they have these ceremonies pretty often, but he knew something, he used the word magical. There was something magical about this specific promotion ceremony. And I believe it was a divine appointment for our elders to come at that time to show our heart for this generation of military men and women, and also to have opportunity to pray for them, and then for that generation to honor the gentleman who was with us, an older generation, to honor him as he has blazed the trails, if you will, for them. So it was just an overall sweet experience and a good example of what honoring can do for an individual. For that specific resident, his whole countenance changed. And I know for the rest of that week, he talked about that experience, how he was able to bring those cookies, give those thank you cards, and share those saluting, that saluting back and forth, and that time of honoring for him was just special. So I encourage you that if you're providing care for an individual who may not have always been in the military necessarily, but whatever it is in life that they were able to accomplish, recognize them for that, honor them in that, celebrate that, and continue to remind them of that good success. And then at the same time, make sure that when you are providing care for them, that you are doing it in a respectful manner, that you are preserving their dignity, so that when you are out with them in public, they are looking their best. When you're with them in private, that they are feeling their best, that you would treat them the same way privately that you would publicly. And you'll see a positive response in the care that you'll be able to provide. You'll see how they'll respond to you just by simply taking the time to acknowledge them, to watch your tone and how you talk to them, to have an attitude of willingness and readiness to help them, just a positive attitude. Those things they can pick up on. So I want to thank you all for taking the time to tune in again today. I've richly enjoyed sharing about all of these tips that can help you. Laugh to Remember is the book that I'm sharing from. And I hope that if you all haven't got opportunity, feel free to look in the description box below. You can see the link to my website, which will provide you with access to my books. They are, they say dynamite comes in small packages. That's how I feel about the books that God's given me, He put in my heart to send out to the nations. That there's some powerful tips and points and testimonies that are there to help you and to help individuals who might be struggling. So I encourage you to check those out. In the meantime, I'm excited to see what God has for us next in our upcoming videos. I know that there will be more. I have a plethora of tips and a plethora of testimonies that are on my heart that I want to share. So I encourage you to continue to stay tuned. Remember to like, to comment, and subscribe. In that comment section, ask any questions of me that you may have, things that you want to know more about in regard to the type of care you're providing for your loved one. And I will try to get you answers as I can, or find someone who knows and to get you answers as well. So thank you again for tuning in, and I look forward to our next time together. God bless. Remember, the memory of the just is blessed.